I've always loved sad songs. A good songwriter can conjure a moment of transcendent beauty and pain just from stringing a few words and chords together that makes you recognise yourself, feel a kinship and empathy with them or their characters. We all inevitably suffer at points in our life. It's just like REM said, everybody hurts sometimes. We all try to avoid pain as much as we can, so why do I gain pleasure from listening to a sad song and actively seek them out? I mostly write sad songs too, so why do I do this to myself? According to a University of Michigan study, people whose favourite songs are happy listen to them about 175 times on average, versus 800 times for those who favour sad songs. The listeners described a deeper connection to the music, feelings of beauty, transcendence, nostalgia, and common humanity. Is there a scientific reason for this connection? Is there anything innately sad about a song in a minor key? Because it's not clear-cut. When you listen to music, several regions in the brain that affect motivation, reward, and emotion all come into play. Your lifetime of listening has conditioned you to recognize certain patterns, even if you've not had any musical training, and this helps you to predict what might come next. When you get it right, you experience the pleasure of your expectations being confirmed. You get a lovely dopamine hit from the anticipation of waiting to find out. But much of the pleasure also comes from cultural conditioning. As you grow up, you're told that a certain song is sad or romantic. Our emotional responses to music are an interplay between a perceived emotion, i.e. what you think you should feel, versus felt emotion, what you actually feel. Context and personal history come into play too. If you've gone through a terrible breakup where you played a certain song over and over, you'll be bringing a lot of that emotional baggage with you when you hear it in the future. I've certainly had my share of painful breakups. Is that why I feel compelled to write sad songs, despite being a relatively happy person? I've often been asked, "Mary, who hurt you?" when I play. For me, writing songs about my failed relationships is cathartic, and when I perform them, I feel detached from the person who felt the pain because I've transformed it into something else. I've decided to fully embrace it and not be ashamed, hence the title of my upcoming debut album, Super Sexy Heartbreak. Heartbreak's universal. You might not be going through a breakup when you listen, but I bet you'll still resonate with its stories. Or perhaps treat a sad friend to a copy. Pre-order link in the description below. Nick Cave, the most eloquent chronicler of pain and darkness, wrote in a blog on his website, "By understanding that suffering is the universal, unifying force, we can see people more compassionately, and this goes some way toward helping us forgive the world and ourselves. To not transform our suffering and instead transmit our pain to others in the form of abuse, torture, hatred, misanthropy, cynicism, blaming, and victimhood compounds the world's suffering. Most sin is simply one person's suffering passed on to another. This is not good. This is not beautiful. The utility of suffering, then, is the opportunity it affords us to become better human beings. It is the engine of our redemption." We're social beings. Empathy is defined as the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. It's an essential tool for pack animals. Our shared survival relies on the health of the pack. So-called consolation behaviour is when you see someone crying and feel the need to check if they're okay, alleviating their distress. By examining our inner lives and realising that we all suffer, we can transform our own pain, sorrows, and longings into compassion for one another. But if we leave our pain unattended, we often end up inflicting it on others. I recently read Susan Cain's book, Bittersweet, How Sorrow and Longing Make Us Whole. Cain's thesis is that embracing the bittersweet aspects of life leads to growth, and that understanding loss and sorrow can teach us new ways of working, being, and creating. She wants us to lean into our melancholy as one of the most powerful tools at our disposal.
I have come to believe that really what we are craving at bottom is that state of longing, that joy that's laced with sorrow. which is often triggered when we experience something so exquisite that it seems to come to us from some other world. And this is why we give painters and rock stars such exalted status, because they're the ones who bring us the breath of magic from that other place. Except it only lasts a moment, and we really want to live there for good, because we know that we live in a deeply flawed world, and we have this stubborn conviction that we come from a perfect and beautiful one that remains forever out of reach. And maybe that sounds depressing to you, but this state of mind, this longing, is actually the deep source of all our moonshots and our loves. It's because of longing that we play moonlight sonatas and build rockets to Mars. And it's because we're all in this same strange state of exile that we have the capacity to empathize with each other in the first place.
It's important to distinguish between melancholy and depression. Melancholia goes back to ancient Greece, when the pioneering physician Hippocrates defined a melancholic as a thoughtful ponderer, considerate and creative, but prone to feeling pain over the cruelty of the world. Definitions of depression vary, but it's a debilitating and prolonged mood disorder that can affect aspects of your life like eating and sleeping, whereas melancholia is a feeling of pensive sadness, often with no obvious cause, that cannot be interpreted as severe depression. While there are plenty of depressed artists who channel their feelings into their work, there are also many more who live happily but take inspiration from their melancholy minds, recognizing that light and dark, birth and death, joy and sorrow, the bitter and the sweet are inseparable from one another. Sad music is so much more than just sad, because it teaches us to appreciate happiness, love and compassion. In The River, Bruce Springsteen tells a tale of teenage lust that leads to a pregnancy and hastily arranged marriage. No wedding day smiles, no walk down the aisle, no flowers, no wedding dress. A life of hard knocks, money, troubles, disappointments, lost passion, fading youth, all communicated with just a few words. Now I just act like I don't remember, Mary acts like she don't care. It's not a happy song, but it's a powerful one of his very best. And I always feel an intense connection with the familiarity of a waning love. We gain a newfound appreciation and desire to hold on to what we have because we understand it will probably come to an end one day. I'm at my most creative when I'm in that limbo between pain and joy and not quite able to pinpoint where I'll end up. The singer-songwriter Elliott Smith put it beautifully in an interview with Rolling Stone. Everybody gets a tag. If you listen to a Velvet Underground record, you don't think Godfathers of punk. You just think, this sounds great. The tags are there in order to help try to sell something by giving it a name that's going to stick in somebody's memory. But it doesn't describe it. So depressing isn't a word I would use to describe my music, but there is some sadness in it. There has to be, so that the happiness in it will matter. There's no shortage of melancholic singer-songwriters out there if you're searching for a moment of transcendence and connection. Nick Drake, Bob Dylan, Joni Mitchell, Elliott Smith, Tracy Chapman and Carole King all rank highly, as do the newer crew of Lizzie McAlpine, Julian Baker, John Grant, Phoebe Bridgers, Lucy Dacus, Sufjan Stevens. I could go on. Ren, one of the most exciting independent musicians to come out of the UK in a long time, just passed 14 million views of his masterpiece track, Hi Ren, a complex back and forth with his own split mind that touches on illness, depression, and the battle between creativity and self-loathing. There's even the lyric, "No one wants to hear another song about how much you hate yourself. Trust me." Susan Cain writes movingly about her own deep connection to the music of Leonard Cohen, the poet laureate of pessimism. In a 6-decade career, this lonely troubadour dug deep into his soul, writing lyrical songs and poems that examined love, desire, conflict, isolation, regret, loss, and mortality. Cohen said Federico Garcia Lorca, his own favourite poet, taught him that he was this aching creature in the midst of an aching cosmos, and the ache was okay. Not only was it okay, but it was the way that you embraced the sun and the moon. It's this embrace of the ache that teaches us the complex joy of life. Cain defines transcendence as a moment in which yourself fades away and you feel connected to the all, Adam Cohen, Leonard's son, even called his father's music a transcendence delivery system. Cohen's friend and lover, Joni Mitchell, said in an interview with CBC, "The general message of my songs is just happiness. Even the sad songs aren't depressing, they're just sort of wistful." After the most nostalgic piano opening of Blue, Mitchell sings, "Blue, songs are like tattoos. You know I've been to sea before. Crown and anchor me or let me sail away. Hey Blue, there is a song for you, ink on a pin underneath the skin." Those lyrics really speak to me. I think that songs are just like tattoos and that they make sense at the time, but their meanings evolve and fade as we age with them. None of us are impervious to loss. It's a fact of life that there will be events in all our lives that will be painful. Jobs, friends, relationships, no matter how loving, all come to an end in one way or another. If you're open to them, new loves might take their place, but your life too must come to an end one day. We all play our part in life's cycle. If you're a musician, artist, or writer, you can leave a little piece of yourself behind that says, "I was here, I existed." There's a unique and special intimacy to that whisper in your ear that comes with listening to a piece of great music. Surrendering to it allows a shared human connection that crosses generations. One young woman chronicles her pain, and another young woman, a generation later, maybe two, finds comfort in it and feels a little less alone. It's magical. Thank you so much for watching. As mentioned, I'm self-releasing my debut album, Super Sexy Heartbreak, in October. And if you enjoy what I do and want to help support me, then the best way is to pre-order a physical, hand-signed, yes, hand-signed by yours truly, copy. It truly makes a difference. There's a link in the description below. But as always, I'll be seeing you here very, very soon. Now, go listen to some transcendent music, please. Yeah, I'm gonna do that.